This episode of the Coarse Grind Podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
Okay. Hi, this is Chef Brian Young from Top Chef Kentucky and Station Family and Barbecue in Cincinnati, Ohio. You're listening to Shawn Rosler and the Coarse Grind Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 131 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With you as always this evening, host, creator Shawn Rosler. How's everyone doing tonight? Fair warning, I'm going to try to keep it together here. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm going to try. I frequently remark on how the show's lifespan to date feels like the blink of an eye when I take a step back and realize that just over 5 years and 130 episodes have come and gone. It is truly a lot to take in. Live shows, benefits, charity shows, all of that. It's a lot. I can remember early episodes wondering how long it would last, if people would listen, if I'd be able to keep it up, and have the ability now, as the show continues to chug along, to sit back and smile. I've even gone back and re-interviewed folks who things had changed for, where it had been a while since we last talked. But there's always been one incredibly special, talented, kind-hearted chef I've always wanted to circle back with. One guest who very encouragingly, which might have been just her being nice, mind you, told me it was great, which I've evolved into actually believing a little bit thanks to her. It was, in fact, all thanks to her, and she's back with us here tonight. Listen, I'm not going to prattle on about her credentials, her background, anything like that. We're going to get into that. But this incredible chef has done so much that we'll hopefully dig into, including, just some bullet points here, Top Chef Australia, Sweetfin Poke, a dance with some gourmet popcorn, locations including but not limited to Atlanta, SoCal, even Philadelphia. If you know her, if you follow her, you know her style is inimitable, impeccable, and as unique as her cuisine itself, representing fresh, organic, and strong. She is, again, in all accounts, from this podcast host, one in a million. And, well, let's just say I feel a level of gratitude for this chef, ever so slightly more than others, because it was her yes, there it is, her yes, that drove me 5 years down a road to more things than I can ever possibly imagine. So, in the public ear, in the public eye, the most gratitude I can possibly offer up for that. Emotional shit out of the way. A lot's happened in the 5+ years since last we talked, and I can't wait to catch up and hear all about it. So let's not waste any more time on this mandy-pandy bullshit and get right down to it. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my incredibly, very awesome special guest this evening, Top Chef veteran, culinary force behind Sweetfin Poke, and the reason you're still listening to my awful voice 5 years later, Chef Dakota Weiss. Chef, how the hell have you been?
I'm not crying, you're crying.
I'm not, shut up! Okay, it's raining on my face.
You're like, I might get emotional. I'm like, all right, shit, now I'm emotional.
It's, and I mean this. I mean this, and I know, like, we haven't necessarily stayed in touch over the years. I've done live shows. I've done cooking demos. I actually cooked Kitchen Confidential grill bitch Beth Aretsky. She and I co-chefed an event in the Hudson Valley together. So like,
so fun.
And it's all because you very, I don't know, kindly, if not naively, said yes to some bonehead with a podcast idea. I was just reading copy from the first episode compared to now, and I'm like, God, did I write any liner notes whatsoever, or did I just like pop shit off? And now it's like this. I wouldn't say it's well oiled, but it's oiled enough. So enough about me. What have you been up to? Now, I know when last we talked, I want to say Sweetfin, I don't know that Sweetfin was even in frame at that point. I think Sweetfin was emerging, maybe?
Sorry, you broke up a little bit
I'm sorry. So at that point in time, you were still, or you were coming into being exec at the W. You hadn't even touched Sweetfin yet, correct?
Right. We were just about to, well, no, we had been working on it for a while, but we hadn't opened our first brick and mortar yet.
Okay. All right. I mean, so a lot has changed in 5 years. And before we get into that, because I'm sure there is a lot to tell, I want to bring folks up who weren't listening to the show 5 years ago. I mean, let's be fair. I've gotten into double digits of listeners over 5 years, so I feel good about that.
That's good.
I was going to say, that's where you laugh. Hopefully not, hopefully more than triple digits. But I'm sure there's a lot of listeners who would like to catch up with just who Dakota Weiss is and where she came from. So let's start with super basic. Tell us where and what you grew up eating.
Okay, so I grew up until junior high school in the valley of California, the Antelope Valley, so it's known as the high desert. It's hideous. It's full of rattlesnakes and tumbleweeds. and not good food. Well, there's good Chinese food. I take that back. Okay. There's good Chinese food out there. And my grandparents had a pheasant farm at the time of growing up. So there was that. And then my mom was like a super hippie, and she grew most of our vegetables and made everything from scratch. Even like when we were babies, we never had Gerber or anything. It was like homemade pureed spinach and sweet potatoes and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, super cool. But I was also a really picky eater as a kid. I didn't like anything. And my grandparents would make this amazing pheasant that was literally killed 3 hours before we ate it. Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, this is disgusting. I don't want this.
Isn't it funny what we grow to appreciate versus what we appreciated then?
Exactly. And my mom would make, my mom made homemade fruit leather. And all I wanted was a frickin' fruit roll-up with all the fake flavors and all the artificial crap.
Dude,
because that's what my friends had.
I understand. My mom was into the organic and the health food store before it was cool. And
yeah.
I can remember asking for snacks, and it was, here are these samurai puffs. It's organic brown rice, garlic flavored. And I'm like, Mom, I'm 8. What the hell? But
have a date.
You too? You too?
Oh my God. Jesus. Mom, I want ice cream. Have a date.
Have a date. Here's some fruit ice, which was fruit with ice and maybe a little bit of I don't think it was turbinado sugar
honey?
At that point. Yeah, it was something like all ghetto and like this sucks. And yet now, to your point, I mean, 2 out of the 3 boys, actually 3 out of the 3 boys, we made our own food cubes. So it's funny how things turn full circle.
It is. Well, I didn't realize she was literally, I was a foodie before I even knew it. She raised me to be a foodie, and I didn't know it. And now, now I'm like, wow, thanks, Mom. That's really cool. But I was honestly a picky eater all the way up until college. I wouldn't eat steak until around when I was in college. I had my first steak, but I first ordered it well done.
Yeah. And
now I'm like, I want it mooing, but yeah.
What do they say? Bring it from the back. Let me slap its ass and.
Exactly. Yeah. So I grew up around amazing food. I did not appreciate it. And then my parents moved us to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And coming from, Southern California this would have been 86, 87, moving to Santa Fe, New Mexico. My sister and I, we were blonde hair, blue eyed, Valley girls, wore neon colors and all that cool 80s stuff. Yes, I said cool. And we get to Santa Fe, and it's such an incredible culture shock. It was a huge, huge learning curve on how to behave there, because it was very different from where we grew up.
What was it that was so different?
Well, it's just Santa Fe is full of culture, and from Spanish culture, Mexican culture, Native American culture, there are so many different indigenous cultures there and they're all kind of mixed together. And then you bring in, these blonde hair, blue eyes from the beach, and we're like, "What's up?" Like, "Oh my God, where's the mall?"
Oh my God. Yeah, I can imagine that's a bit of a shock.
Yeah, and we didn't grow up rich by all means, but we didn't grow up poor either. So I'd say we were very comfortable upper middle class. And going into Santa Fe, where you've got extreme poverty and extreme wealth, and there's not a lot in between, it was really hard. Yeah. But beyond all of that, the food, that's like when I really, really started like loving flavors, and like I stepped outside of my comfort zone a little bit, because New Mexican food is a whole cuisine on its own. It is unlike anything else in all of the world. You have hatch green chili and chimayo red chili, and it's not like, chili with the ground beef and the beans and everything. No. Straight up chilies. And that's when I really started like, oh my God, food is kind of good. Yeah. And I stepped out a little bit, and my big thing was I did taco night once a week for the family. Except for I would fry flour tortillas instead of corn tortillas because I like them better.
Nice. And I don't blame you, and I agree completely. Go on.
Oh my God, fried flour tortillas are just amazing. And have you ever had fry bread? Like Indian fry bread?
Yes.
It's like, or like a Navajo, they call them Navajo tacos. So it's like fried dough with pinto beans and ground beef and chili and cheese and lettuce. Oh my God, it's like amazing. And then, have you had a sopapilla?
No.
Oh my God, your world is going to change. So a sopapilla, it's basically, I think it translates to soft pillow. It's kind of, imagine a beignet.
Okay.
But lighter and bigger. Oh. And like, it's basically just fried dough, and it turns into this huge pillow, and the inside's completely hollowed out, and the outside is doughy and crispy all at the same time. And then you dip it in either honey or honey butter.
Oh my God. Stop.
It's life-changing.
Oh my God,
it's seriously life-changing. And every restaurant in Santa Fe, you get a basket of sopapillas after you eat, your entrees.
So like it's nachos on the other end of the meal, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's like, you get chips and salsa, then you have your meal, and then you have your sopapillas. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It's amazing. So the food in Santa Fe, well, New Mexico in general is life-changing and amazing. So that's when I really like started kind of stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit and trying new things. Nice. And then I went to college down in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is, close to the border of Juarez. So then I started like getting into Tex-Mex food. It was kind of, it's very good as well. And then we go down to Juarez and have like straight up street food. And that's where I started like cooking. I say professionally in air quotes, because I worked at this. I was going to college, and I was working at this really cute little like mom and pop coffee shop, and they made everything from scratch.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I found myself ditching classes or skipping classes to pick up extra shifts because I had so much fun doing it. And I would come into work with my Betty Crocker cookbook every day. Nice. That my mom sent me off to college with. Nice. And I basically, it was kind of like the movie Julia and Julia, but it was like Dakota and Betty.
Yep.
And I like went through every single bakery recipe in that book.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you originally didn't go the Epicurean route to college, correct?
No, I went for international business, whatever the frick that means. I mean, what does that really mean? I think it just sounded cool, and I was like, international, yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, I mean.
I honestly, I had no idea what I was doing. So my mom finally was like, all right, well, you're wasting my money, you're failing college, and this sucks. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to go to college anymore. I'm going to go to culinary school. So yeah, I went to culinary school in Scottsdale.
Nice.
I went back to Santa Fe to do my internship at Coyote Cafe. And then I headed wagons east from there, went to Dallas, then Atlanta, then to Florida, then back to California, then to Philly, then back to California.
Man. I mean, that's a hell of a road trip, but it falls in line, and I can say this, and, you know, you more than probably anybody can appreciate this 130 episodes later, it's never a point A to point B journey. For anyone who I've heard that's been successful, it is an angular, tangential journey all over the place in a lot of cases. And so you start to go to culinary school in Scottsdale, you do your internship, you make all these stops. Let's fast forward a bit then to, well, let's stop for a second. Before you went off to that, so you finally end up choosing culinary as your chosen path, which, you know, obviously that's how we know you. That's how we, the lay public, have come to really know Chef Dakota Weiss. That's what we know you as.
Yes.
As far as inspiration goes, and I think I know the answer to this because I have unfair insider knowledge, 5 years talking to your mom. Who would you say your greatest culinary influence was that got you on that path?
Definitely my mom, even though I didn't realize it until much later, but 100% my mom, just because, she literally made everything from scratch. I think we were allowed McDonald's maybe once a year.
Did we grow up in the same family? I'm feeling a kinship that I was too stupid 5 years ago to realize, but go on.
Yeah. So definitely my mom, although my grandma, also cooked a ton as well. She had kind of a different style of cooking. She was definitely more, besides cooking the fresh pheasant, everything kind of came out of a box or a can, which I still kind of have an affinity for that as well. I don't care what anybody says. Kraft mac and cheese out of the box with the powdered cheese packet is still delicious.
All right. See, listeners aren't going to get this, but I'm going to make eye contact because we're actually on FaceTime. All right. Listen, I hated mac and cheese for about 35 years of my life until my kids started eating it. Dude, I did. My mom made me afraid of it. Oh, it's the devil. It's the devil. You don't want that. It's full of Satan. You don't want Satan.
It's full of Satan.
I finally tucked in to Kraft mac and cheese, and you'll literally find me getting clumps of the powder on the spoon and rubbing it on my gums like a savage.
I'll open up 2 boxes and take one of the cheese packets from the other box and throw it in all into one. And
you're not out that much money. That's called an investment, folks. That's called an investment in your pasta.
That's true chefing at its finest right there.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. I love it. So
yeah, every once in a while for my birthday, someone mysteriously sends me a case of boxed Kraft mac and cheese, and it doesn't last long in my house.
With an extra packet taped to the front of the box.
Yeah.
Here you go, Dakota. We love you. All right, so we know the why, we know the where, Scottsdale, and we kind of know the what happened to the degree that we come to know you on this. Then I'd say Top Chef was known, but I don't think it was the phenom that it is today. It is a whirlwind, it is a dynamo. How did you end up going on Top Chef?
So Top Chef, they always have a hard time casting female chefs, because, even you would think in this day and age, we raise such a stink about it that there'd be more of us, but there truly are not a lot of female chefs, especially savory chefs.
Agree.
So what they do, they do many different styles of casting. You can go to open calls. You can send, your resume into Magical Elves, and but what they also do is they ask the casting directors, which is mainly Magical Elves, they ask past contestants, hey, do you know of any chefs that you think would be good for the show? And someone from San Francisco mentioned my name when I had first, it was still really new. It would have been like maybe season 3.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I think that'd be super, super cool. And I talked to my boss at the time about it, and he's like, oh my God, that's culinary, career suicide going on television.
No shit, really?
Yeah, he's like, look what happened to Rocco DiSpirito. I was like, what?
I don't know, we're still talking about Rocco, so, I mean.
And he was like, no, you don't want to do that. And this is just, it was obviously season 3, so it wasn't like super, super big. But I was like, I don't know, I just think it'd be a really good opportunity. I think I should do it. And he's like, well, if you do it, then you're fired. And I was like, well, shit.
All right.
That sucks. And this was my first executive chef job of a hotel. And I was like, I don't want to get fired.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well, I'll pass this time. So I wound up calling them back and being like, I'm sorry, like, I can't. Mm-hmm. And then, probably like 2 or 3 years later, I had just started at, I guess it would have been longer, maybe 4 or 5 years later. I had just started at the W in Westwood, and I get a call in my office, and they're like, hey, this is so-and-so. We want to see if you would be interested in interviewing for Top Chef. And I was like, nope. And I was like, there's no way. I just started this brand new job. There's no way I can like just be like, hey guys, peace out for a couple months. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do that right now. It's not good timing. And I hang up the phone, and the food and beverage director was sitting next to me, and he's like, what was that? And I was like, these casting producers for Top Chef, they want me to go on. He's like, oh my God, fucking call them right now. I was like, oh, it's not good timing. I don't feel comfortable leaving. Like, I just got here. There's so much work to do.
Yeah.
He's like, no, call them right now. So I called him back, and I was like, all right, well, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And, casting for Top Chef it's a lot of work. Yeah. You have to fill out just endless amounts of paperwork. You basically sign your soul to the devil. Like, you're like, here you go. There's just so much stuff, so much legalities and everything. And then you go through multiple face interviews, video interviews. So it was like a good solid 8 to 12 weeks, maybe even longer, from point A to point B. Jesus. And they're finally like, yeah. And of course the whole time you're like, oh, I want to get, what happened? Then they call you and they're like, yeah, things are looking really good. And then you don't hear from them for like 3 weeks, and you're like, well, I guess it didn't work out.
Yes, it didn't work out.
Darn.
And then they come back.
And then they call you the next week. They're like, okay, things are moving again. And you're like, oh my God, I can't handle this. The anxiety of being on Top Chef is just as bad as trying to get on Top Chef.
Trying to get on it in the first place.
Crazy.
That's so funny. When we wrap, I have to be super cryptic because I think I'm still under. I'll have to tell you about a similar experience I'm currently in the trenches of. So that's why I kind of know what you're talking about. But I'm not speaking about any specific program. If anybody's listening, right on. So. And so here's the part I love about Top Chef and what I've learned over 130 episodes. And again, I want to tip my hat in your direction with less tears this time, because what I have found, and I would consider myself an expert more than most in this field of media. Like, the Beard Foundation has introduced podcasts as a viable category for nominations, and I actually got I got like a pre-nomination back in 2018 when they first came into being. The Coarse Grind Podcast went across the Beard desks. So I felt kind of cool about that. That 25 cents will get you a cup of coffee. But it's this it's this mode now, and 130 episodes, I definitely think I've got some ground to say what I'm about to say. In the realm of culinary talent, I've spoken to a veritable shit ton of people. I just had Steven Reichlin on from Project Smoke, Primal Grill. I've had Chris Kimball from America's Test Kitchen, Ming Tsai. I've had all these folks on, right? To me, the metric of the culinary professional with the most humanity, talent, and spirit comes from Top Chef. Hands down, full stop. I'll fight anyone in the street who says otherwise. Like, you all, like, clearly magical elves know what they're doing because they get literally not just the cream of the crop, but some of the most genuinely diverse, interesting, creative, kind human spirits. So when I first came into seeing you on the show, you know, I was watching since season 2. I missed season 1 where, what's his name? Harold Dieterle won. And, you know, I think season 1 was kind of a wash because, like, it wasn't the Padma show yet. That came later.
Right.
But, like, season 2, I started watching the Marcel Ilan battles, and I remember interviewing Ilan, episode 25 of the show, and thinking, like, whoa, I made it. It's awesome. But, like, every interview I've ever done, like, you set that benchmark for me. Like, everybody I interviewed from Top Chef, I'm like, well, they better be as nice as her. They better know as much shit as her. Like, and to your credit, like, they have. And so you make it on the show, which, no duh, of course you do. And
I don't know, Padma almost poo-pooed me.
In the casting?
No, not in casting. And so the season I was on, they did this weird thing. It's the first and only time they've done this so far, where they took like 32 or 33
was that the
of
tryout
us.
concept?
Yes,
yes,
and they made us all like audition on film as a part of the season. It was, you're like, wait a second, I thought I was already on. They're like, no, you're not on yet.
Yes.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun.
You gotta fight for it.
I forgot about that. That's so weird, though, and I'm so glad to see that come and go. Because, like, I don't know, if you make it on, like, I think there was another season where they did, like, the mise en place right up front, and if you flunked out, you didn't make it, or you went right to Last Chance Kitchen, something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that I can see that.
At least that, but not some kind of bullshit tryout. So anyway, so you get on the show, and you are on the show, and you go to Last Chance Kitchen, you make a shrimp tostada, if I remember correctly. That's
something I remember is something with cactus, 2 types of cactus.
Watermelon prickly pear shooter.
Yeah, I did that.
Oh my god, I can't find my keys, but I can tell you that. How good is that? So
Tom said it was too sweet.
So yeah, of course he did. So the show aside, what happens to Dakota Weiss after the Top Chef experience? Like, where does your life go to?
It's funny. I think with Top Chef, like, no matter how good or bad you do, the amount of publicity or just being in the public eye for that, if it's 1 episode, 3 episodes, or 7 episodes, you know, people kind of, there are some severe diehard Top Chef fans, like severe.
Stop looking at me, Dakota. Don't make fun of me. Go on.
You know, it just helps boost your career. And my career at that point was already really amazing. Mm-hmm. You know, at that point, I think I was 35, executive chef of a W hotel. Like, I was already at cream of the crop of where I wanted to be. You know, next level from there would have been, you know, probably becoming like a corporate chef or something like that. But, I was very comfortable, which is kind of why I was excited to do it, because I was comfortable. So it was nice to, like, throw my ass back in the fire and be like, do you still got it, girl?
Yep.
But no matter, you know, how good or bad you do, you get a certain amount of recognition for it. So it helps tremendously put your name in front of investors that you may not have ever had the chance to meet. If that's the route you want to go. You know, either people will seek you out, or when you start seeking out investors to open your own place, it helps a lot. Top Chef has major clout as far as, you know, the chefs that are on there. And every season it just keeps getting better, you know, like I keep thinking, like, when is going to be the Thomas Keller and Ming Tsai, like, what, you know, that's like that's the next level. Yeah. Well,
and I mean, as they get into masters and everything, I actually just had Art Smith on the show, and it's weird to, I mean, you wouldn't. Let me think of how to say this and not come across as condescending in any way, because that's not my goal. But it's like your Thomas Kellers, your Ming Tsais, your Art Smiths. you don't see them going on a competition show. You see them with their own show, right?
Right,
exactly. And yet, if you look back, fucking Waxman, who
oh my God, I love him so much.
How much I want to hug Jonathan Waxman. I want to like so literally amazing. Drunk hug him and tell him how much I love him, because I do.
I ugly cry every time I see him. Oh my
God, he's awesome. But I'm trying to think who the hell else. Who's the seafood guy with the glasses? Shit, Keith Breedlove knows him personally.
Michael Cremesi?
No. But
seafood guy with the glasses.
Michael Chiarello was another one that was on there. Who, I mean, let's be honest, he's had better reputations. Who else?
Oh, that's right. He kind of had a rough go like a year or so
and
ago.
that's been the fucking minefield. It's like, all right, how many other people who I liked are gonna come out as creepers? But whatever. I'm glad it's coming out. It should come out.
It happens.
It absolutely should. I'm trying to think. But so anyway, you have these veritable icons doing the same thing now because they've realized, I think anyway, the market value that Top Chef brings to your name brand.
Yeah, that's a perfect word, market value.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's no denying it. And so, Dakota Weiss comes off of Top Chef with this incredible street value now, and you danced a little bit with
that and a drinking problem.
Well,
I had, and it's funny, I've talked to a few other chefs, and Marcel and I have become close over the years. And
that's great.
We had I guess a year ago, we had a drunken evening together, and we were just like, man, leaving Top Chef, like, it really, like, I had, like, postpartum, like, you're sad that it's over, but there's just a lot. Your like emotions are just on such a crazy roller coaster. Yeah. From the whole time of getting there to getting kicked off, and then once you're kicked off, you're there in isolation, and like that never helps.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's this. I actually. Who was it I talked to right after I did my 50th? The 50th episode was a live show. And I mean, listen, I'm not trying to glorify what I do. We did a wonderful fundraiser for the local food pantry, raised a couple $1,000s, and it was a great live show, right? It was in a theater, fantastic show. And it took me a solid month to come back and be myself again. Because it was like this buildup happened, and then you do it, and then it's like, well, what the fuck do I do with myself now? I don't know what to do with
crazy.
Me.
I was kind of a jerk. Like, it was a good solid 6 months of just me. It was like Dakota turned into an asshole. Those are my asshole years. And for a lot of reasons, like my ego got boosted, even though, I made it like a little less than halfway, but like, still, like, I'm like, I was on Top Chef. I'm better.
You're walking into bars, you're like, give me a drink, bitch. I made it on this shit.
Like, and I'm not that person. I mean, I'm normally, a very humble person, but it really, like, I did not handle the aftermath very well.
No, but you're a human with an ego, and especially, and I've said this to guests over the years, it's like you are in an insanely ego-driven industry in so much as that people have 100%. To like you and like what you do. You can't, if they don't like you or like what you do, you're in a very unique field. I think there's a lot of other fields where you can say, well, I don't give a shit if people like me. People like my product. Or I don't care if people like my product, people like me. I think the chef/celebrity chef, you got to have both.
Yeah, it's funny, and even like this hasn't happened as much anymore. But around the time when I was on Top Chef, when you go around and you're meeting new people, and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm a chef," and they're like, "Oh, what show are you on?" Instead of asking you, what restaurant do you cook at?
Yeah.
And you're wait, what? And this is when like Chopped and a lot. There were, what was the other one where they sabotaged each other? There were just so many competition cooking shows at one point that people forgot we actually cooked at restaurants. We didn't just cook on TV, and make these outrageous things under ridiculous circumstances.
Exactly. And again, that gets into, honestly, again, to thank you. Again, my purpose setting out to do this was to educate the lay masses as far as like, look, behind the pass, there's a heart and a mind and a soul trying to be creative, trying to be liked. And why don't you pay attention to that instead of being a Karen and bitching about what's on your plate in the wrong order? Like, knock it off.
The trolls.
The trolls.
They're always the trolls. They come out.
They're all over the place. By the way, Glasses Seafood was Rick Moonen. My apologies.
Okay.
I love Rick. Love Susur Lee, Hubert Keller, Tracy Desjardins, Mary Sue Milliken. Like, all these people were on Top Chef Masters. And, you know, it stands to reason. See, this is how I operate on a daily basis because I have 3 kids. I blame them. So it's you know, so I don't think it's I think anybody that goes on that show, I think has to have an ego coming off of it. And it's, like I said, especially in your industry, I think if you're not at least a little bit ego driven, I don't think you're successful. You know, I think people hated on Marcel left and right and sideways. I friggin' love the dude. I love him up and down.
He's the sweetest. And he's so crazy.
Yeah.
There's no way he could be a jerk because he's just so he's like the sweetest, craziest guy I know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's funny. Oh my God, he's so funny.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So all the celebrity, all the Top Chef brings you to a stint with gourmet popcorn, if I remember.
Yeah. Yes,
and they were amazing.
That happens.
They were amazing, all the different kinds and everything. And I noticed too, like, you did that before I even saw it out here, and then we start to see it out here all over the damn place.
Yeah, I don't even remember why I did. Oh, I do remember why I did that because I did it was Valentine's dinner, and my theme was like Night of 1,000 Taste or something. It was something really ridiculous.
Nice.
And my idea, it was like 12 courses, and within those 12 courses, you would have 1,000 different ingredients.
Holy shit.
The freaking dumbest thing I think I've ever done in my entire culinary career.
Sounds like a lot. Sounds like a lot.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, it was like pompous and ridiculous. But so my last thing, I was trying to fit in. I didn't get anywhere near 1,000, by the way. I think I made it to like 320 or something, and I was like, "That's it, I'm tapping out. I can't do anymore."
Well, you round up. You round up to 1,000. There you go.
But I was like, okay, I can send them home with something. So then I created this curry bacon smoked pistachio popcorn.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
That I sent them home with, and that like added 25 more ingredients. I was like, all right, cool, I'll take it. And yeah, a couple who were foodies loved it, and they called me the next day. They're like, would you be interested in selling that? I was like, no, that's stupid. And then I was like, well, I don't know, is it stupid? And then it just kind of snowballed into a company.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was Dakota Pop Parlor, right?
Yeah. I don't really do it anymore. I mean, I do on special occasions, although I still love coming up. More for me, I hate making desserts, and I hate measuring stuff out. And when you make, desserts and pastry type things, you have to measure everything out like a scientist, and it drives me insane. So it's a pain in the butt to make. But I still I love coming up with the flavors and like doing the recipe development part of it. But then when you ask, I make it once, it's great. I'm like, awesome. I don't want to make it again. I want to do something new.
You want to move on to something. That's awesome. And honestly, stepping away from it being a full-time thing, that's got to provide you that freedom to be like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I do miss it a little bit, but like I said, I still dabble a little bit in the popcorn arena. That's awesome.
So from there, then, we get into Sweetfin. Poke. Yes. Let me just say that poke in this household is a mandatory, hopefully once a month thing that we get down with, because it's so amazing. It's so fresh. And you have gone above and beyond, making it not only popular, but successful and beyond successful. I believe actually didn't Glenn from Walking Dead even come in and enjoy your poke?
Oh, I mean, I don't mean to brag or anything, but
please do. That's what I'm here for.
I think because we're here in Los Angeles, we have a very large celebrity following for sure. But that's, anywhere here in Los Angeles has a big celebrity following. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, you name it. Oh my god.
Oh,
So the one person that I ugly cried about was Gordon Ramsay came in maybe 4 or so months ago, and he came into my Hollywood location with a friend, and my manager was smart enough to snap a photo off the security video.
Oh my God. That's not creepy at all, but yeah.
No, I know, right? He's like, Chef, look who came in today. And I was like, oh my God, you didn't call me and tell me. I would have run right over there. But yeah, he said he loves Sweetfin and he comes all the time and he orders it on whatever, Postmates or Grubhub.
Oh my God, that's so good.
So that was like my big
Yeah, Jesus, why wouldn't it be? And he's not coming in and bitch at you and fix your restaurant. So I mean, you're in good shape there. So I mean, how did Sweetfin come to be? Like, what was that like? Now, obviously, you start with one location and then you go to how many it is? You're at now 3, 4.
10. We're 10.
Jesus, where have I been? All right, 10. Don't mind me. It's just been 5 years since we talked, Dakota. Jesus.
I know. Yeah. So we opened the first one in April 2015, in Santa Monica, and that remains hands down our busiest restaurant still.
That's awesome.
And it pretty much we opened up the next one maybe a year and a half after that one, or maybe 2 years. And then we went through an opening spree. I think one year we opened 4 or 5. I'm not gonna lie, it was probably way too much at one time. It was a really tiring year.
It was a lot.
But the good news is I love the people that I've worked with for many, many years, and the majority of my chefs and my managers and my line cooks have worked with me for well over 15 years. So I
incredible.
I take my crew with me, and that's the thing for all chefs, and we all know this. When you get a good crew, you don't let go of them. You give them what they want to keep them, because that's, they're running your business. They're in charge of your livelihood.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And so, how has, not to spin this into downward mode right away, but I got to imagine everything that's going on to bring it current day here with Sweetfin. How has COVID affected Sweetfin's presence? Now, it seems to me that Sweetfin would be more of a take it, walk away. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, we're fast casual 100%. So the fortunate thing with this whole pandemic going on is we're a restaurant built mainly for to-go situations. So I would say before we were ordered to shut down, probably 45% of our business was Postmates, Grubhub, Uber Eats, all of the to-go stuff, platforms. Let me use a better word. All of the to-go platforms.
Okay.
So I feel very fortunate for that fact. Week 1 of the pandemics, when we had to close down, I have 3 partners, and the 4 of us were kind of like, that's it, we're done. This sucks. We worked so hard, and now there's nothing. And we reacted as quickly as we could. But when you lose 60% of your business just in the snap of your fingers, you're just like, it's so hard to react to that. Obviously, first thing you do is you cut back on your staffing, which was not, and still is not easy.
Well, like you just said about getting a crew, keeping a crew.
Yeah.
That's the last thing you want to do. And yet people who are not in the industry don't understand the immediacy with which this hit the restaurant biz.
Yeah. So, it was all of a sudden.
Yeah.
It was very surreal, and it still kind of is a little surreal. And then week 2, it got even worse. When restaurants were ordered to close in-room dining, in dining eating. I lost the words. And then we were like, oh crap. We thought like the first week was bad, but this is even worse. Like, oh my God, we're going to go under this.
Right.
Prepare for crash landing.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, and at week 2, we reacted very quickly. And yes, we did have to lay people off. Unfortunately, we had to cut a lot of corporate overhead, and, we all took very, very severe pay cuts.
And I mean, you're talking about 10 locations too. Let's clarify that. You're talking about a lot of locations. You're not just one shop.
Yeah, no, across the board, it's been really rough. And then week 3 started, and we made some adjustments with the schedules and the general managers. And our number one goal throughout since this whole thing started, was keeping our employees on staff as best we could, keeping our managers at their salary, as if, nothing changed on their end, because they are the life of the restaurants, right? The people that go there every single day and make it happen. They're the ones that keep us in business. So our goal is to keep them employed and happy and fed and, together during this as well. So I think overall our general managers of each store did so good, like rotating the employees. Yes, the employees that used to work 5 days a week, maybe now are only working 3 or 2 days a week, and maybe some are only working 1 day a week. But in a lot of ways, it's kind of worked out for them as well, because a lot of them who have children aren't in school anymore, so they're having a hard time finding, help with their children. So they're kind of like, well, I can't work right now. I have, my kids are home. I can't afford to have a babysitter, so I need to be home to take care of them. So in a lot of ways, it worked out well.
Yeah.
And those who, wanted the hours, we were able to give them the hours. And so we made a lot of adjustments by week 3 as far as staffing and ordering and a lot of stuff like that. And business started slowly kind of picking up a little bit. So where we were at a loss of 60%, I'd say each week it just gets better and better, which is amazing. And again, and the great thing about that is each week we're able to add more shifts to each schedule. So each week we bring back more cooks, and they've got more hours, and they're happy and we're happy. And, I'm not going to lie, some of the cooks bring their kids with them, and they're like, we put them in the back and they sit there and they put stickers on the lids because they're bored out of their minds. Or, but some of them they don't have help. They don't have babysitters. So they're like, can I bring my kids? And the restaurants are closed. So they've got an entire restaurant to run around. Yeah. And they sit on their iPads and, do whatever it is that they do.
But see, that's so cool and such a testament to the adaptability. And I know we were talking offline about the 3 COVID panels I've had so far, panel talks. The adaptability of the restaurant industry. I don't think there's an industry out there who couldn't take a significant, deep lesson from how nimble and able to pivot you all are. The fact that, fucking almost 100% of the restaurant industry hasn't gone under is a testament to that very fact. Like, you're talking about weeks here, where I think in most industries it would take years. Like, people can't figure out how to work from home in the IT industry. What? People can't figure out to put pants on for your Zoom meeting. Like, come on. And yet here's the restaurant industry, and I think it falls back to that family-oriented, loyalty-driven field that you are. Yeah, and that's just awesome to hear.
And also, we're even though the restaurant industry is a huge industry, it's also very small in general. We all know each other, and it's a very small community of chefs and cooks and dishwashers and prep cooks and waiters and bartenders. Like, it is definitely a family in any city that you go to. At the end of the day, we all wind up at the same place, hanging out, talking shop. And this isn't the time for us we're not concerned right now about making a profit. You know, our concern, we're in survival mode right now. Like, we just want to get through this alive with our family and our employees as healthy and as physically healthy and mentally healthy as we possibly can. And it's, I see some places kind of like, oh my God, we're not making a profit. We got to figure out different things to do. And I'm like, that should not be your goal right now. No. Your goal right now is to keep your family, you know, in good terms and everything. And survival mode, let's just get through this and let's get through it together.
Yeah.
And so many restaurants have collaborated together to kind of, you know, make that happen. And Nancy Silverton being like, you know, the pioneer of that right when this started, you know, opening up her restaurant to feed line cooks and prep cooks and dishwashers and bussers.
Incredible,
and
right?
Bartenders,
there has been
right?
more humanity pouring out of this industry. It's funny you brought up New Mexico as part of your biography, because I had Hosea Rosenberg on for a re-interview, and he hails from the Green Hatch Chili Country, and we were kind of, you know, rehashing that because he's got a restaurant, Santo, in Boulder, Colorado, New Mexico inspired, and they've been feeding people left, right, and sideways. You know, that very, and that's not an isolated story. Like, anybody with the ability to do so. Neil Fraser was on one of the panels. He's like, oh yeah, we're opening up Redbird, and we're feeding people. Yeah. It's like, wow. I don't know. And again, this isn't to romanticize your industry. It comes with difficulty. I get it. But man, you guys should be wearing like collars and frocks and walking around blessing people, because the amount of true sainthood coming out of Culinary like blows the Catholic Church away by 1,000% at this point. You know, you're doing what it is, I think, inherently and romantically restaurants set out to do, which is to feed and to satisfy. It's incredible. Yeah. It's incredible. So, you know, reality being what it is today, what does 3-6 months from now look like?
So, you know, it's funny. In this, you know, chaotic and super surreal situation that we've been thrown in, we have learned something very interesting, that this sort of, this sounds weird, but this business model, and I air quote that, because the way we're serving now is minimal staff, but still pumping out quite a few, you know, bowls. Sorry, my alarm keeps going off. Still pumping out a lot of food, but what we've lost though is that customer one-on-one relation, and it's, which is, you know, you always want to have customer relations. That's obviously a huge part of the restaurant business. But what we've noticed is it is a very interesting business model, because your overhead is so incredibly low. Mm-hmm. It's in the future. We're actually, we actually started this vegan concept, like 5 weeks ago, and we've only launched it at a few of the Sweetfins, but basically this idea, and a lot of chefs are doing it, is these ghost kitchens, where it's online only. You can only order this, you can only find this menu on Postmates.
Okay.
And you basically are using someone else's kitchen as your point of reference, where you're making all the food and everything, and then it's Postmates drivers go and they pick it up, and then it's out the door. So you're literally, there's no human contact whatsoever, and your labor cost drops dramatically. And labor in California is huge, because minimum wage is what, like almost $14 right now?
Isn't it 14, 15, something like that?
Yeah, like it's creeping up to 15 real soon. So,
sure.
If you're able to, restaurants go under because of labor and rent most of the time. Mm-hmm. That takes you down. If you're able to control, you know, one of those deadly money pits, then it kind of makes for a good business. So what we're 3 to 5 months from now, I see a lot of ghost Sweetfin kitchens.
So that almost takes the fast casual model. It's kind of like in my field, e-learning, we had rapid prototyping, and then we kind of conceptualized hyper prototyping, which was an even faster development model. So it takes fast casual and turns it into hyper casual, like just kind of ups the throttle on it.
Yeah, and it's funny, like my boyfriend and I will sit here at home and we're like, all right, what do we want to eat tonight? And we'll both roll through our Postmates apps. And all of a sudden we're noticing like all of these new restaurants we've never heard of before.
Yeah.
And we're like, what is this? Who is this? What? And it's the same thing. It's companies, restaurant groups like mine that are just trying to come up with different avenues and different things to do to survive.
But how easy is it to be that explorative when you're not having to put up a new storefront? You're not having to put up anything. You're just having to put a concept out there and see if people bite.
That's it. And it's like, it's almost silly not to try it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're not adding any, maybe you're spending a little more money on your ingredients, but other than that, it's kind of just, you hope it takes off. And I we haven't been pushing it super hard on social media. So, cause we kind of were just feeling it out to see how it goes. But,
sure.
I think the future is a lot more ghost kitchens.
That's awesome.
And sadly, I think a lot of restaurants are not going to be able to bounce back from this.
No.
Especially the ones that have not stayed open. I think I heard 11 Madison is not opening back up.
11 Madison is not open. I actually heard that from Girl Bitch herself, Beth Aretsky.
God,
yeah. That's painful.
A lot of these epic restaurants that are not built for the for a takeout mode, it's going to be very difficult for them to reopen because you're basically starting from scratch again.
But when we look at the way, and again, I'll reference e-learning. Woo, exciting podcast, kids. When we look at the way people absorb information, when we look at the way people buy things now, it is no longer go to a mall, walk around, see the sights, and walk into a store and buy it and put it in a bag. It's one-click buy on Amazon.
Yeah.
It stands to reason that food was not far behind, and I think this is showing that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I definitely think this way of food via Postmates, Grubhub, Uber Eats, this is huge for them. I mean,
yeah.
Talk about a company that's banking right now. Like, they are having their moment, and I feel like it's going to last well beyond the reopening of restaurants.
Oh, I think it is too, hands down. So, I mean, from your mouth to God's ears, as they say over here on the East Coast, it's looking to be that hyper casual, that hands off, Uber driven model. And I think there's a lot of good to it. I think the romantic side of the restaurant industry, I think there will still be places that now,
sure.
Well, I think it'll be a year from now though. I don't think they're going to open anytime soon. I think they're going to take time to feel it out and see what happens. Because what if they open in September and then second wave hits, you're right back to square one.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, I haven't really dove in too far with all the new, like, rules they're throwing out there. But, the ones that are obviously, you're taking out half of your seating. Well, that's your revenue. Like, how are you going to pay your staff? You
can't, restaurant models. Now, watch this. You're going to be proud of me for this because I've learned this over the years. Restaurant models are driven at 100% capacity. All tops filled, turned, 3-4 times an evening? That's what they're projecting on. You can't do that anymore. You're done. You're screwed.
Yeah. It's insane. And then, part of going out and eating is also it's the service that you're getting and feeling pampered and taken care of. Mm-hmm. And do you think like having a romantic dinner, while your server has a face mask and sweaty gloves on their hands, that you can't hear them, they can't hear you. Like,
here, hang on a minute. I'm gonna do another one. Would you like to see a wine menu this evening, Miss Weiss? Like. That's literally yeah, exactly. So I don't know. We could wax on and on this evening about that new model, but I think you hit on so many important notes. Why wouldn't you? You're brilliant. You're the first guest of the show ever, and we just adore you here. So with that said,
you're the first person that's ever called me brilliant.
Well, that's a goddamn shame in and of itself, but we'll talk about that another time entirely. So that's the future, kids. If you're looking for it, you heard it here from Dakota. I'm going to touch on a couple afters questions. Maybe you remember these traumatic experiences from 5 years ago. You probably don't. Just a couple off-the-cuff questions, just to kind of have a little fun with it. You know, we've been pretty deliberate and agenda-driven here this evening, but I think we have so much important things that we covered, which is awesome. I'd like to have just a little fun and actually compare your answers, which I have filed from 5 years ago to today. So without further ado, the afters. Strap it in. I'm standing in your kitchen. What music do I hear playing?
Ooh, I have a very wide variety of music going on. I would have said probably 5 years ago, I probably would have said like Queens of the Stone Age.
You're absolutely spot on. God damn it, you did. Wow.
I've been on a She Wants Revenge kick lately.
Nice.
And oh my God, The Weeknd's new album. I'm like in love with it.
How do you not love The Weeknd? I'm just gonna put that out there, and people who know me personally can make fun of me all you want. I love The Weeknd.
Oh no, he's the bomb.
Agree. Full force. All right. Next question, and I have your answers from 5 years ago, and we'll compare. Hypothetical situation: you're going to be stranded on a deserted island. You can only take 3 foods or food type items with you. Inexhaustible supplies, but only 3. What would they be and why?
3 food items.
Foods, food type items, i.e. condiments, beverages.
Okay. So, oh man, I don't really know what I would have said 5 years ago, but right now, mezcal.
1 for 1. I'm sorry, what was the second one?
A Vita Prep. A blender.
Ooh, no, okay. That's awesome.
And then, probably have to say cheese, because I can eat cheese all day long.
2 for 3. 2 for 3. Third one was limes. I think that goes with the mezcal.
Did I say mezcal 5 years ago?
You did say mezcal 5 years ago.
Huh, holy crap.
That's ridiculous. I literally, here, and here, I'll actually do this, and only you can see this, again, because we don't share screens. Every episode, I have my chicken scratch all over the interview sheet.
I lost your connection, but that's fine.
Oh, no. Let me see, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I did. How about that? So anyway, I have an interview sheet for everybody. I have literally 130 pages, which is why we're working on a book. Ooh, did I leak that again? Oh, well. All right, so next question. Melanie Denea did this wonderful photo book, My Last Supper, and it was 50 world-famous chefs, and she's a famous photographer, awesome photographer. And she would take a picture. It's the one, actually, where Tony Bourdain is hanging a big beef bone between his legs. And he's naked. And she asked the same questions of the chefs. You know, your ticket's getting punched tomorrow. What's your last meal? What are you drinking? What are you eating? What music is there? Who's there? So I ask you, Chef Dakota Weiss, last meal.
Last meal, definitely. Oh man, it's a tight race between champagne and Sauterne. Like, ooh, that's what we're drinking.
Tight. Damn.
They're like, I'm an equal of, I'd probably go champagne because I can drink a lot more champagne than I can Sauterne.
Fair. Okay.
And I'm going to go like a Bollinger, really old, really dry.
Love it.
Who would it be? You know who it would be?
Who?
I would sit down with Eric Ripert because that man.
Why would you?
Because he's Buddha. He's so chill, and I could listen to a French accent all day long. I mean, let's not lie. Like, it's amazing. He's just a cool dude.
Yeah.
That I could, like, really just sit and talk to for hours. And eating, oof.
Is there pheasant? I think I need to know that.
No, definitely not pheasant. I have to go with, like, something like, I guess something I've been digging on a lot lately before I started my fitness challenge is hot chicken.
Oh, how can you not?
I just recently got into it. Well, I don't know why it took me so long to get on this hot chicken bandwagon, but damn.
Yeah. Let's.
It would be some Howlin' Rays. Champagne, Howlin' Rays, and Eric Ripert.
There you go. He said, Dakota, why do you need to eat the hot chicken?
It's so good. Oh my god. That was pretty good French accent.
Oh, thank you. I tried.
And then every French chef I've ever worked for, Dakota. I'm like, say my name again. Say it again. Come on.
Why is it you like the hot chicken? And finally, I can't believe 5 years, 130 episodes later, I get to ask you this question again. What is food to you in a single word?
Oh, gosh. It's so much more than a single word, but it's a hug.
I love it. It's
a hug.
5 years ago was love, but a hug is damn close.
I was on the verge of saying love, but now it's like a hug, especially now, like, we're all in quarantine.
Love it.
Like, you know how many more people are coming out of this a great cook?
Oh, man. Yes.
My sister, who has her own personal, like, chef, is making sourdough bread on her own.
I love it.
Like, come on.
I love it. People are learning. We learn out of necessity. And, you know, that hug, I hope that it is the physical contact that we get to have someday soon. But until then, food itself, food knowledge itself can be that virtual hug.
Yes.
Man, and damn, Chef, I hopefully not getting choked up again. 5 years later, 130 episodes later, it is even more of a pleasure today to speak with you and to share time with you on the mic. And you are just a force to be reckoned with. Brilliant. There's a second time. And it's an honor to speak with you, honestly.
Thank you. It was great to catch up. I'm sorry it took me so long.
That's all right. I'm glad.
It's been a really rough 5 years.
Yeah, but absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yes.
All right, so just for the plug factor, sweetfin.com. Check out Sweetfin on Twitter and Instagram. And if you're looking for Dakota herself, Dakota Loves Bone Marrow on the Insta. Anything I'm missing, Chef?
No.
Cool.
We didn't talk about... I can't believe I didn't bring my dog up during this whole interview.
Dude, your dog's amazing. Your dog is friggin' amazing. We've gotten 3 cats since then, and I'm like, when are we getting a dog, though? When are we getting a dog? Dakota's got a dog. Why can't I have a dog? Your dog is amazing. I think I should interview your dog for an episode. I think that's fair.
Oh my god, she would be honored.
Yeah, you probably have a voice for her, don't you?
I think she's kind of got like a Macy Gray voice.
Okay, the little gravelly.
Yeah, but my boyfriend disagrees.
Okay.
Or it's either that or she sounds like Lucille Ball. I'm not sure which.
Okay. Well, either or, I'm going to make time on my schedule.
Yes.
Because she deserves it. So, once again, Dakota, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Shawn.
You're the best ever. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 131, holy shit, of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With me this evening, Chef Dakota Weiss. Our producer, as always, has been the lovely, voluptuous Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out all his artistic happenings on Instagram and check out his Cinematic Pig's Feet podcast. Next episode will be 132. Stay tuned. Are you passing through Central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today.